Cool. So I'd love to introduce our guest today. Cheryl McCants is the CEO of Impact Consulting Enterprises. Been there quite some time, started that company from scratch. And so I'd love to have Cheryl, if you want to join the show, welcome to the show. Cheryl, can you talk about, I think your firm's done both, right? You've worked with private industries and the government. And so can you just share for our audience, like, I think most of the folks that watch this show, are kind of thinking about selling to the government, or they do sell to the government, and someone like yourself that's seen both sides, can you share with our audience kind of some of the big differences you've seen, in working with both sides of the house? Because it's very unique. Sometimes folks just stay on one side. So as you've seen both sides, I'd love for you to share with our audience what you see the big differences are.
Well, I think something that you pointed out early on, the fact that the government buys everything is a huge difference between public and private sectors. So in corporations, you'll find that they have, an in-house marketing team, or they'll have their in-house operations team, or they might manufacture toilet paper, right? Yeah. Or masks, which are the hot commodity these days. The government, on the other hand, they have to buy everything. They do not produce a single thing on their own. They buy training. They buy website design development. They buy toilet paper, toothbrushes, and masks. So I would say one of the biggest differences is that there is greater opportunity for everyone on the government side. Yeah. Then I would also conversely say that while some large corporations people may think are behemoths, they're not as big as the government. So it's probably a little bit easier to get in on the corporate side of the procurement officer or the decision maker, whoever the end buyer is. So there are lots of similarities in both spaces. However, I think the biggest difference is that the government buys everything. And then on the private sector, it might be a little bit easier to get to the actual purchaser than it is with the government.
Yeah. So Cheryl, definitely a pleasure. And you touched upon a lot of points, and just to focus in on one of them, because you mentioned that now is a good time to get in with the federal, right? So I looked at your background. I see you work with like the Navy, but also working with like the city of Newark, for instance, right? So you have a little experience with the local government and the federal government. Could you share just with the audience, since you've been through both channels, I guess some like pros and cons of, getting started working with a local agency compared to a federal agency, and maybe how those times have changed now that you say that federal might be easier?
Yeah, so I would say that the key to working with a local city agency or a large federal agency is probably the same key that you need to open the door to work with a nonprofit or a corporation, and that is a relationship. Yeah. Because people only do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so it's extremely important that you are always authentic, that you don't say you can do more than you actually can deliver. Yep. Because if you get that contract and you fail, not only will you never get another contract again, you will negatively impact others who might look like you, who might come from your same area, who might be referred by that same individual.
A lot of pressure now. Now you have a lot of social pressure you're building.
No, I'm backing up what you're saying, Cheryl. I get that. But what's the first question that you ask a company or an agency when they're trying to craft their story, like to help them focus their energy?
So a lot of what we do is derived from learning, right? And so a lot of reading. So Malcolm Gladwell, Simon Sinek. And what I ask people to constantly think about, and I'm always revisiting myself, is what's your why? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah. I literally just sent that out to our sales team this morning.
Yep. 9 o'clock is the first thing. Is like,
what's your why?
And but you have to be able to answer that question authentically. Mm-hmm. And if you can rattle it off in a second, then you haven't really thought about it. So, and then your why should evolve over time, because why you did something yesterday is not necessarily the same reason as to why you're going to do it 10 years from now.
Cheryl McCants, thank you so much. It was great to have you. We're welcome to have you come back. And this is such an important part of all businesses. Great storytelling, making sure your message lands well. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was great.